just so that we can come in here and make some changes and have a pretty big graph if we need it. We could also make this into a function later if we need to copy it for our like our stab or some other kind of item use. That way we can just copy it around and reuse that same code. So we have this, we play this, and then for now, let's just play the next one. I'm trying to think if we want to set up our montages to have an attack and the end in the same montage, or if the way they have it set up where they have an attack one and an attack one end is a better method for it. We also need to set up like kind of how we want a combo system to work. I would do it inside those. Disable that, and let's get rid of our cinematic camera. We don't need it. Default viewport's fine. I would do it in the animations, so you can control on which animation frame we start doing things. That's how you set up those invincibility frames and stuff when you're doing dodges or attacks or things like that. So here we're gonna do this. Okay, so that kind of ease in is not working for it. Either have to add that ease in back to this one or something else. So let's see. It's like 0.05. Let's see if we ease into it, or if it has some weird kind of jankiness that happens with this montage. Yeah, so you can kind of see that. Personally, I don't mind putting them in the same montage either. I think that's kind of easier, to be honest. So what we're going to do is we're going to do duplicate for now. Let's browse to it. This duplicate is going to be swipe attack from the right side. So swipe attack. Right middle. Where's this kind of right upper? It's coming from. Yeah, it'll kind of be this kind of direction, so right up. So you can rename that to right up. All right, right up, and then I just want to see where the spot. This one is called player attack. Wait, that's player attack 2. Attack one end. And they actually have some of these things set up in here. So attack start, attack end. I'm not sure if I put them in like a long time ago or if they had them in already. Attack one end. What is this one? Swing one end. Okay. So I'm looking for swing one end. Swing one end. Pop that in here. Okay. So they have this initial attack here. The play rate that we're going for is 1.5. I'm going to put this down to 1 and save for a second so we can start from scratch. So you can see kind of how slow that feels, though. That whole wind-up part. Pretty slow. Well, it starts the attack 6 frames in. Which is fine. But if you want the swipe to feel like as soon as you swipe it, that character attacks, it won't quite work that well. Let's see. Which might be fine for our kind of game, might not. I think that you kind of want that feedback to be quick, though. Oh wait, I didn't switch it out. Hold on. Let's not do this. Let's do swipe attack. So we also need to set up what swipe attack we're doing based on our swipe direction. Yeah, so something like that's really slow. So it just doesn't have really much of an impact. Although the ending being slower isn't necessarily bad. It's just, especially the attack, is real slow getting into it. Total frames right now is 33 for an attack that's pretty long. So we could just, speed it up that way. I'm trying to remember if we could speed one of these up. I'm not sure if we can. Probably not. Oh yeah, here we go. Start time, end time, play rate. So 1.5. No loop count. End time is 0.7, play rate is 0.1. So this trims it down to 28 frames. We can 0.1. Let's try that. It's feeling a little better. Okay, so now we did to make sure we can't attack twice in a row while we're in the middle of attacking. So when this happens, we basically say, hey, we're in an attack, and then when we're done, we'll come out of it. This, of course, isn't going to quite be correct because we want to call this way earlier than one that's going to get called now, but just to test it. And plus, I can make it, like a backup in case like our animation doesn't quite work. Yeah. So now I can't start that animation over while I'm in the middle of it, which is good. I think that'll be fine. So we got that. That's great. Awesome. We need to end this early though. So this, as well as figure out what animation we're doing. So the other thing we can do is jump to our animations. Let's duplicate this one. I think this is left down. And we're going to just take both of these out and do swing 2. Attack 2. There we go. Grab this one. Okay, this one. It's kind of horizontal. So I guess it would be center or middle, not down. So let's change the name of that one to M for middle, left middle. We'll have to make animations for each kind of spot. Okay, so that's good. Let's take a look at what input we have to play around with. We have a touch location direction, previous start, end. So when we do a swipe, this should update our direction, basically tell us what direction we're in. And we'll just compare that to we'll normalize it and compare it to what direction we should be kind of using. Yeah, let's just throw a comment around this one real quick. All right. Attacks, melee swipe. What we're going to do is grab that variable, which is nice because it's already set up for us, and it's always being kept track of. So it should be called even when we're doing swipes and things like that. So we're going to say get this direction. I don't know. I don't think we normalized it here. I think we kept it. Yeah, just one minus the other. But we want to normalize it. And then Swipe attack. What we're going to do is there's a good way to do this. I'm trying to remember. Because we just need to compare it and find what it's closest to. We don't want to do a switch. We don't want to do anything like that. We want to. If we have like a. We could do a dot product against something, but that's getting. Let me think about this. So technically, what we're gonna end up doing, I think, is vector. This is gonna be a array called swipe directions. We're essentially gonna just set up. I think right now just 2 swipe directions because we only have 2 attacks, but later it'll be other ones. So swipe direction 1, let's say, is the first attack. So this is the swipe attack from top right. So top right, X is facing forward, Y is we're going to be going to the left, which will be -1Y, and we're going to be going down, which is -1Z. So it's going to be on an angle going basically down from, diagonal. So if the player ever swipes kind of like this, we need to pick up that one. Now the other one's the center left, so that's left side swiping to the right. So this will be a +1 and a 0. So that's going to be kind of here, just going straight across, +Y. Let's throw this into combat. Swipe attack directions. Okay. How can we do this? We can do get, or we could do. Can we find the closest or something? I'm trying to think if they have a good method. Some way that I don't have to do a whole lot of blueprint stuff because I want to keep it as clean as we can. For loop, we could do a dot. Or get something like nearly equal. We could just do a dot. It's annoying for now. I think that's probably going to be our better method technically. Until I can remember some better way to do it. I'm sure there's a better way. Okay. So this idea is going to be a function. So let's collapse the function because we need a local variable or 2. This one's going to be calculate swipe direction. And we're going to output vector. Or, we could output a number based on that array, essentially. And just do a switch on that. So whatever index this is, 0 is going to be 1, and it will be the other, that kind of thing. Okay. Or we could do a select. Can we do that based on an integer? It's only 0 and 1. Oh, there we go. We can do more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that'll work. Perfect. So we actually can remove this one. How do I remove this? Come on. There we go. Just because we only have 2 of them. Swipe attack. left, swipe, tag. Oh wait, no, right up is the first one. Okay. So what we do here is a for each loop. And what we're going to say is we're going to compare whatever our normal is to this guy. And we're going to set a local variable. We're going to add this to a local array. And we're just going to see which one of the array is the best matching. And then you can always apply a threshold to make sure that it's within a certain amount as well. But this is going to be called dots. So we have our direction. We dot against our normalized swipe. And then we're going to, after we're done, grab our dots, get, or maybe it's not get, it's like max. Yeah. We're going to be doing max, I think, the way that this is set up, unless I have to switch the dot around. Essentially, the closer to the value of 1, the closer you are to that specific value. So this here is going to be fine. And then I also want to say whatever value it is that we got has to be greater than like a certain threshold. So let's say it's closer to like, I don't know, 0.5. It's like a 45-degree angle, kind of, if I remember right. Just this. And then we're just going to take this. Let me just spread this out slightly so it's a little easier to read. As long as that's true, we do this. If it's not true, we could just basically tell it not to do it by giving it a different value. So the index here is 0, 1, and I could put it as -1, which I think will be like, you can't select anything. I don't know 100% on that one though. So let's do another local variable. Might throw an error. Let's try it. Do int. This is index. All right, well, can't do index. We're just gonna do I. Index must be in here. And also, hold on. Not an array. So we're gonna set this here, set this here. This will be whatever our thing is here. This one will be -1, and then we'll just do I. Okay. So that should be correct. Let's double check everything is working though. Wait, did I even call this? Yeah, calculate, swipe, get it, play it. Okay. So that should be the first one. So what we have is dots, which is 0.7 and -0.7 for these ones. Because my touch direction is X is being used here. Wait. So we might have to change up how this works a little bit. We're not using Z, we're just using XY because that's the pixels XY. So hold on. Our setup isn't quite going to work. So instead of doing it like this, we got to do different. It's going to be 0 down to positive, negative, which would be, when we're going for the top right, it'll be -X and -Y, or positive Y, right? Yeah. negative x, positive y, and 0. And then this one will be positive x, 0 y. I think that is correct. Let's see. This is negative 0.23. Positive x, though, looks like. No, it's negative x. Negative. No, it's a positive x. Huh. I wonder if I'm screwing that up in the other part. Let's see. Either way, so essentially what we have is this dot product, which will be yeah. See, we're getting the opposite, which means it'll be the wrong one, but it's technically working. So let's go see. When I'm setting up my move previous minus current, current minus previous. Let's do a print string. My rotation is going to be all off now, but that's totally okay though. Let's just try it out. Let's see. So this is a positive x, this was negative x. And negative y, this is a positive y. So that's correct, yeah. Just because it's 0, 0, and then it goes positive this way and positive this way for our screen space. Of course, again, I can't leave it on pixels. You know, you're not supposed to be doing it based on that. You gotta base it on like screen size and things like that. But for now, that's fine. Let's take a look at the where's it? Touch to look stuff. So let's take a look and see if things need to get inverted or not. So x needs to get inverted. I think y is okay. Let's find out. So yaw input, we can toss a negative 360 in there. Compile and save. And of course, we can add in an actual boolean to control it, though. I think y also needs to be inverted. Yeah, so that way we'll do the boolean so that eventually, so that players can decide whether they want the inverted or not. You know, put it into a settings option. Okay. Yeah, so here we go with the 1.15. Okay, perfect. So when we swipe like this, oops, come on. When we swipe like this, we do that one. If we swipe this way, we shouldn't get anything. Swipe this way, shouldn't get anything. No, we're still getting this one. Is that too close? Let's find out. The other one's supposed to be this. Which is working. Let's see why the other one is also happening, though. I wonder if it's just whatever is... Well, it should be greater than 0.5. Maybe 0.5 is not close enough. 0.2 and 0.6. So we have a direction of 4 and 3. which in our case here is this. Something to note that this is probably doing incorrectly, I just thought about this, is that I don't know if we're using our start point or if we're using just the last frame, right? Yeah. So we're just using the last frame, though. So here's a problem as well. When we start doing a swipe, we might want to use like the start location of wherever the player started to put their finger down. And then once the swipe happens, those 2 points essentially, and not the last frame, because that might be iffy. So let's try that as well. So let's get start location, touch start location, and then current. Because I don't know if the end location is going to be firing off by the time we do a swipe. Like if something we should probably try and do is just a quick test of, do we get a swipe event when we don't let go? I gotta reconnect it, I guess. Yeah, so if I hold it down, I just go across. I don't get a swipe event, but if I let go, then I do. So I can do start and end, or I think I should be able to. Let's do something we should double check is just to see if this swipe doesn't get called before the other event gets called, though. So if we do, what is it? End my start. I think we'll have to figure that one out again. There's that. Yeah, we'll spread it out. It's fine. Still can't remember if I like that way better or not. So the top one going down like this is still catching it, but I feel like as soon as we get to these ones, it doesn't. So I think we could just increase this slightly more. 6 repeating, and then let's see. And of course, all these will be filled out, so it's not like this one will always get called when we do this. The sideways one should get called instead. But yeah, that's fine. We can increase it slightly more, but I don't know if it matters. 0.8, it's fine, whatever. I don't think there ever should be a point where we're not, if you're swiping, you're just going to be attacking. So ultimately, we could probably remove the threshold and just get whatever the best dot is and do that. I mean, let's do that. Whatever. We don't even need it. Let's just do index, and let's go for it. Let's just say it doesn't matter. If you swiped, you attack. And we just do our best to try and match that attack. So then the player doesn't ever get a point where they kind of get screwed over and they can't attack or do anything like that. We can get rid of this. We still have to keep the dots and all that. That's fine. Let's toss a comment, and yeah, there we go. All good there. Now, the nice part is we can put together a swipe direction thing instead of doing it as an attack. Swipe directions can just be a normal input thing, and we can use it for other stuff. So input touch, swipe directions, So if we have like some sort of interaction where you have to swipe on something, what we can do is just keep the same code, the same function, and reuse it to do a test to see, okay, which way are we swiping? And then based on that swipe, do something or nothing, you know. So that's all good. This is all fine. We still have to fix the camera. I'm trying to think of the best way to do that. It might just be a camera modifier or something. If we're in combat, rotate the camera itself here after the fact. We could technically do it here, but I really don't want to. I don't want to put it into like a constant update of like the camera. We'll figure it out though. Yeah. What else can we do today? Might call it soon. We could set up the camera stuff and just give it a try. Something we also can do real quick would be set up the camera to follow our kind of input as we go, as we start moving and stuff. And that would be on add movement. Something like this. You have to make sure you have a pass-through spot. Cancel tap to move, output, this is all fine. Update the focus rotation. We could do it here. It's annoying, but it is totally doable right here. Let's just try it out, because it's gonna be interesting. So let's do set world rotation. We're just gonna do setting the world. It's fine for now, just to test this out. And we're doing the same thing. Taking this thing, we're doing a rotation. So this is for the player character. See, that's part of the problem, is like I could more easily rotate the character, kind of, I think. I don't know. Let's just do it this way real quick. Okay. We're going to do the same thing. We don't want the roll, we just want to pitch and yaw, and we're going to do this here. Okay. And then we need the follow camera's current. Now here's the problem, is after we leave the state of combat, we'd have to like set this camera rotation back to its kind of default. Otherwise it's going to stay kind of wonky. Oh. Yeah, it's rotated the wrong way. So I look at, this is supposed to be the target, and this is supposed to be the start. Oops. Okay. So there's that instantaneous kind of snap as well, which we don't want. But technically it's starting to work, because here's the camera center. And it should be probably right on the hips, right? Cinematic. Add the crosshair on there. Yeah. So this is like exactly on the hips, which is great. But then as I leave, it's going to stay kind of in a weird spot. Oop, in fact, it's not staying with my current rotation at all. Or no, it is, yeah. Because I'm not updating the camera to move with the character yet. But now, if we rotate around our character, you can see it's not perfectly centered on him. Now it's off to the right slightly. And then when we stop and we press play again, you can see, it's centered. So when we exit combat, we would have to specifically tell it to change that. Which we can do. This perform camera transition kind of thing is a good place to do it. And it also can help us transition to looking at that character, so it doesn't have that snap that we have when we go to him. It's adding a little bit of complexity to our stuff, but So camera transition controls the three things right now: arm length, socket, and FOV. But it also could do camera arm rotation or control rotation and the camera rotation. This guy. And then when we go back, we're basically just telling it to reset. So it has to be in relative standards, essentially. But otherwise, it's fine. All right. Let's just get through this one real quick. I mean, the other thing to know is that we could lerp this, or not interpolate this here if we wanted to. But that's more nodes and more stuff, and let's see if we can just fix it through our camera transition. Let's just do this as a rotator, right? Camera rotation, or just call this, yeah. I'll just call it rotation. I know what it is about. Same thing with this. And then same thing here. We're going to be so we need a camera rotation combat. And we also need a... Actually, no, we don't need this one for combat. We need this one for just the transition, I think. Rotator. It's really just going to be a start. So what is going to happen is we need to set a start. See, the end is tough, because ultimately what's going to happen is the end is going to be moving as the character moves. So we can't really use that when we're going from, A to B right now. There is no A to B. There's A and a moving B. But when we're coming back, technically there, the rotation is going to be something that's just zeroed out. So I could have an option in here that just says zero out camera rotation, which would work then. You know, this is very, very specific to combat because nothing else I don't think will really rotate just the camera itself. Unless there's a better way to do this that I'm not thinking of. I mean, I could potentially just start rotating this off of our control rotation. You know, let's look into it as opposed to doing this right away, because this will be quite a bit of extra work that might not be something we want to do. Okay. So when we enter combat, we're performing a camera transition, telling the character movement to rotate to our control rotation, right? And we can tell our camera arm to do something different, not the follow camera, but the camera arm itself. So camera boom, world rotation. I wonder if that's going to be the right rotation for it. I wonder if setting it there will override my control rotation or if it won't. Let's find out. Let's just try it. Yeah, not quite. So let's turn off that and see if that will fix it. So when we enter combat, doing this, we're also doing this. Camera boom. What is it called? This is use pawn control rotation. Set use pawn control rotation. And then when we leave, we re-enable. See how that works for us right now. And the hope is that our camera lag is going to kind of pick up and remove that snap that we had before. Yeah, there we go. So now our character faces, our camera faces, and then when we leave, it looks like it's all centered up again, which is good. Perfect. Okay. So now we have some attacks. Let's see, this is probably going to freak out when we get too high. Yeah. Something we can do about that is really easy, though, which is just to make sure we don't go up to that 90-degree mark ever. We can do that in the camera manager. So before we're done today, let's do that. Let's just add that back in real quick. Or add that in the camera manager if we don't have one. And set it up so that we can't go that high. Just because there's no reason to. Same thing with like looking up. There's a limit you kind of want to put on it just because it's not worth letting them look up 90 degrees. Let's see. Blueprints, characters, no, player camera manager. Okay, I already have it. Perfect. Player controller. So we did this last time. Camera manager, perfect here. Right in the defaults, we can go down to these settings. Yeah. Pitch minimum. I want to say that this is looking downward. So what we're going to do is like 60 And this one down here is looking upward. I think we'll give this one a 30-degree limit. These ones I think are fine. We're not really going to mess with the roll, and we're not messing with yaw. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. It's pretty good. So you can't go any more than this, and you can't go any more than that. So now, even if I get real close to my bad guy here, oh, it's still doing it. Oh, it's because the control rotation isn't affecting this. Shoot. Because I disconnected it from my control rotation. Well, that's fun. Okay. So, with this in mind, I have to apply these same rules directly to my own code. Just because as soon as we do this, when we turn this off, all those rules kind of are never applied to it. So we need a clamp. Oh, not clamp axis. Clamp this angle. So we can do it like this, and plug this back into pitch. I could put it up here like this. I wonder if we can just get the camera manager from here. No. We could get player controller or get controller. I wonder if this has a camera manager. I bet it doesn't. I bet only the player controller does. Yeah. This player controller doesn't help me though. I don't want to cast to it right now. So what we could do is just hard code this in for the time being. 60 and 30, and yeah, we will worry about it later in terms of sharing it. Because the thing is, if we update our camera manager ever, you don't want to like forget about these ones and have to come in and change them every time. It would be better if you could just link it directly to it. Let's see if that works. Yeah, so there we go. Because now it can't go any further up, which helps. And of course, we could also do some things to help, like even limit this one even further, technically. You know what? For combat itself, we could limit this a lot. 45. Yeah, so it's like that. And of course, that kind of rotation stuff, we have to kind of work on that. But that's going to be a yaw issue. But this, so then we can't go looking down too far, basically ever. Which should be fine. Even as we are jumping and above, I don't think it's going to be much of a problem. And that kind of camera arm stuff works perfect. That is perfect. The snap is still there a little bit, but it's okay. Because the camera arm basically eases it just slightly. Let's see. Is this I think it's because our control rotation is different than the camera. So moving left and right, that's one of the problems right now. So while we're in combat or something, we could just do it the opposite. We could just rotate the character as opposed to rotating the camera. So set rotation here is fine, but then we take the character and we rotate them differently. So set rotation. Let's do that. Let's plug this in here, and instead we're just going to be rotating our character. Which is a good question, because right now we have this nice system where the character movement, it has a face. Let's see if I can find it. Where did it go? Oh, it's in here somewhere. I think the orient to movement stuff. Character movement. So character movement, it's in here, which is the why am I not finding this? Rotate. There you go. Rotation settings. Orient to movement and desired. So you can use the controller's desired rotation, which is nice because it rotates over time based on this rotation rate. Orient to movement does the same thing. It takes this rotation rate and it uses that over time. We basically have to do our own here, which is that we have to rotate the character over time using an interpolate. I think this is just doing a constant to the character itself then. So we would do yaw only, rotation rate from get actor location, and we would interpolate to interp to constant, and we just get world delta. Interp speed, we're actually going to grab the actual speed itself, which is get rotation rate. Let's just break it or split. We're going to take the yaw, plug it into the yaw speed. If we wanted to change the pitch of the character, we could, but we're not. Get actor rotation. So stuff like that. And then set actor rotation. So this will do the opposite. With the follow camera, we will set the rotation based on that so it's facing correctly. In here, we're going to get rid of that completely. We actually don't need to do the thing for the character because we're just going to turn it off by default. So character movement, in here we're going to say don't use the controller's desired rotation. File save. Okay. So we move around, all that's fine. We can look around, all that's fine. Everything's centered up. Camera is centered on pelvis. And character is facing the correct way. Here, we're going to be stuck. We can always update that camera manager. But now, if we're going backward, forward, left, right, this is based on our camera itself as opposed to the control rotation, which is now facing the correct way. Because you want the controls to match wherever the camera is facing, essentially, which is why it's kind of important to switch this out now. And by default, I don't know if we need to look that far down ever. We'll leave it, it's fine. The other thing we're going to do is just not allow the player to get too close to the enemy. Like they'll have like a little bit of a collision, kind of like circle or something that you can like snap to. If you get too close, That way we don't have quite as many problems like that as well. So that's like a collision volume that will only block other characters or specifically the player, maybe. Just to give you a little bit of breathing room. Okay, so that's there. All this is done. We can disable that, and let's actually go back to our normal viewport. And I think that's it for this one. We have the camera set up. We got swiping to attack working pretty well. Combo stuff needs to come in, but we'll get to that later. Technically, you can hit this guy, but nothing happens. No one gets injured. I still need animations for all of the attacks, not just the 2 that we have. And we still need a couple things, like being able to defend, being able to dodge, which I have some ideas for. In terms of like being able to just like tap to move kind of thing. When you're in combat, it'll be like a kind of trying to get there quicker. So it'll like do a dodge or something like that. The only problem is having this in the way. Kind of sucks, but I think it'll be okay. We could have an option to just turn this off while you're in combat, essentially, but I really like being able to kind of move around. And keeping this kind of consistent is nice. Yeah, so that combo needs to be in there. Being able to much faster attack. Because right now it's like stopping you from attacking until it's like completely done. All that's going to be important, Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. Until next time. We'll see if I get to doing some more of this weekend or something like that. I'm not sure. We'll see. I've also been uploading some of these to YouTube. YouTube doesn't let me upload massive streams right now, just because the channel is pretty new. So I've been splitting up into 30-minute sections. We'll see if I can keep doing that. Ultimately, it'll be easier if I can just upload the entire stream without any cuts or anything now. So I'm going to see if I can do that instead. Yeah, until next time.